All right, good evening, Southwest ISD community. We hope you're doing well tonight. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. We have some information that we'd like to share with the community, and we know that the start of the school year has a lot of questions, and we understand that, and we're trying to get the information out to everyone so that we make sure that we communicate some of the things that are really important to know at this time. My name is Jesse Garcia. I am the Executive Director for District and Community Relations. I will be your host tonight. We do have several folks joining us as panelists from the school district who will be helping answer some questions and provide some information, hopefully some clarification to a lot of the questions that we've been receiving here at the school district. So we have Ms. Valerie Maldonado joining us. She's our Director of Health Services. We have Mr. Adrian Ramirez from our Administration and HR office joining us as well, Executive Director. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. We have Ms. Velia Terrazas, our Executive Director of Elementary Curriculum. We have Ms. Zeline Aragon, our Executive Director of Secondary Curriculum. Ms. Aubrey Hogan is on with us tonight too, our Director of Special Ed. And we also have our Superintendent, Dr. Lloyd Verstuff, who will be joining us tonight as well. And so before we get started, we just want to give you a couple of directions here and some things that you can do. There is a button down at the bottom as we do the presentation. If you want to ask some questions to us, and I promise that we will try to answer them as fast as we can and as many as we can, but we may not get to some tonight. So if you ask a question, please include your email address. That'll help us when we follow up and we pull the transcript to the meeting so that we can follow up with you, whether it's tonight or tomorrow, and that we can make sure we get you some answers to your questions if they don't get answered tonight. So with the information that you receive from the presentation itself, and with the information that you will get when we get an opportunity to answer questions, I think we'll be able to probably provide answers to a lot of the questions that you're thinking of. But if we don't, please put your email when you submit a question. So you can submit the question, and right after the question, please put your name. And after you do that, then we'll be happy to get back to you if we don't do it tonight. In addition, there is a button down at the far right of your screen that says interpretation. If you would like to receive tonight's information, we have Ms. Patricia Belmar, who's interpreting for us tonight, and she will provide that information to you, everything that we provide tonight in Spanish. So if you go to that interpretation button and you click on Spanish, then you will be able to get the message that we're sharing tonight in Spanish. So please take advantage of that if that's something that we need to provide for yourself, so that you'll be able to grab the content. And in addition, like we said, if you have any questions, please put them in that question and answer feature, and we'll do our best to get you answers in the presentation and while the presentation is going on as well too. So our plan tonight is to have kind of an overview about the safety and health protocols that we're doing for the school district to start the school year. We know there's lots of questions around that. And then we want to take some time and talk about the virtual opportunities that we've got from the previous week. We received a lot of questions about too. And so hopefully we're able to get you plenty of clarification on that. And if not, like we said, in the end, we'll make sure that we provide some contact information so that you all can follow up with us, and that we can definitely get you those answers before the school year starts off and here pretty soon on August 23rd. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So first, I would like to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Lloyd Verstuff. He would like to share a few words with us before we get started.
Thank you, Jesse. And I don't know, Ms. Belmar, if you want to make that notification in Spanish, and maybe some of our families can go over to the interpretation area. I think you're on mute, and let me just give you a few minutes to do that.
So once again, to all of our community members who would like to hear the presentation in Spanish, if you would go over to the button on the far right that says interpretation. It's the last button on your right. If you'll click on that button, you'll have an option there to hear it in English or Spanish, and then you can click in Spanish. So si quieren oír la presentación hoy en esta noche en español, por favor de ir al último botón que dice interpretación y pueden clic en ese botón y pueden oír la presentación en español. Si no han hecho eso, por favor de hacerlo ahorita y luego vamos a comenzar con el superintendente.
Thank you, Jesse. So I just want to bring a welcome to, it looks like we have over 600 guests joining us this evening, and I want to thank our families for being engaged, and I really want to reemphasize the commitment of our school district and really the great people who work here in Southwest ISD's commitment to bring more and continual information to our families. And I can promise all of you, we don't have all the answers. We continue to do research and connect with our agency and our local leaders and our state leaders. We continue to look for flexibilities around the plans that we have come up with. It's our goal. There's a lot of ideology and a lot of politics around this issue in our own backyard, in our state, in our city, in our nation. Frankly, it's our goal here at Southwest ISD is really to try to meet our families where they are and try to hear what the concerns are, what our families would like for their students in the educational realm to look like this year. And so we're offering and understand too that we get some parameters and restrictions around from the education agency and from our local leaders and about what should happen. At the end of the day, we want to meet our Southwest ISD families where their needs are, no matter what our philosophies are or ideologies are. We definitely believe in safe environments and believe in the welfare of our families and our students. And we also understand the importance of continual education and effective education, effective learning that happens in any environment. And so we are committed to these weekly town halls for as long as we need to do them to make sure we're sharing updated information, more information that we can answer some questions our families may have. And we'll always come back around to making sure that we're working collaboratively together and we're working shoulder to shoulder so that everyone can find the venue that they want for their child. And I really think the staff here, they're each going to take aspects of our plan and drill further down to provide more information about which plan works best for our families. And as we get into that work and we hear from our folks, as you have questions, as Mr. Garcia said, please put them in. We add them to our frequently asked questions on our website so we can kind of keep a continual communication log back and forth. And so today looks a lot different in education than it did back in June. In June, we're all excited because the COVID landscape metrics were really kind of telling us that we can go into a more normal year, and things have changed as we hit the later part of July and coming into August about the increased variant, what's happening in our hospitals. And we look at all sorts of early warning indicators to let us know what we need to be doing and to make sure that every action we take is that we create safe environments for students to learn in. And so we're going to drill further down in each one of the aspects we're looking at. And I know the big thing as of late that I'm sure a lot of our families are seeing on the news is the executive order that we had from the governor, basically restricting any entity, public entity, from requiring a mask mandate. And here as of late, we also have know that there's a temporary restraining order against that executive order from our local leaders in Bexar County and San Antonio. And that restraining order has allotted our local health authorities to give us a different mandate that says we will have to require masks. I want our families to know that this Monday that there will be a hearing that's going to be held in front of another judge to either remove the temporary from that restraining order or basically to remove that restraining order. So we will have more information and more clarity, we hope Monday or early next week, that we can bring to our families. Either way, no matter how that order goes, we really want to encourage our families to wherever we are, that masks are a safe feature. They are an extremely important part of our protocols, safe protocols that we have in every one of our campus. Our district was able to district-wide go up to 50% in total numbers throughout the district of students who were in face-to-face in-person learning environments. One of our campuses was all the way up to 84% of students in face-to-face in-person learning environments. And we're able to really apply safe protocols and use things like plexiglass barriers and to make sure that we social distance where we can, that masks were a requirement, and they may be required this year. We don't know for sure. And even if they're not, we are going to strongly encourage the use of face coverings, because we know that that is a viable aspect of making sure that we have an enhanced safe features on every one of our campuses. So we'll have more information as that aspect of safe school protocols gets challenged again on Monday, and we will definitely bring more information in next week's town hall about where we stand with that. And so I don't want to take up a lot of time, because I know our staff have been part of meetings, have put in a lot of effort to further drill down into the venues we have. So when we talk about learning venues, we have a local virtual learning venue that we are standing up in our district. We have remote conferencing that the Texas Education Agency has really launched here recently, and that is another viable opportunity for our students. We have an already existing general education homebound program in our school district, and then we have safe protocol in-person learning as another venue. So we really try to get out and really try to collect all of these learning venue opportunities, because we know that our families should have options, they should have information, and they should be able to make decisions and understand that's what we want to do. But we also want everyone to understand that we also have restrictions and expectations and certain aspects that we have to comply with the Texas Education Agency and any order that we may get. So I'm gonna stop right there, because I know there's good information. I get to come back on after we go through our presentations, and just encourage everyone, please put your questions in the either Q&A area or the chat area, so that we can respond to them either this evening or either in our FAQs that we have on our website. And so I want to thank our staff for being here. I want to thank all of our families, especially for being here. We're over 700 now, and so there's an interest for information, and we definitely appreciate that. So Mr. Garcia, let me send it back to you so that we can drill further down into the options, learning venues that we have, so our parents have that information.
Thank you, Dr. Burstiff. And so parents, I've been monitoring the chats as we're speaking, as Dr. Burstiff is speaking right now. And the number one question right now is those virtual options. If you'll just give us just a little bit of time here, Ms. Valerie Maldonado is going to go over some of the safety things that we're doing to open up this year. And once she's done those options that Dr. Burstiff mentioned right now, the remote conferencing, the virtual learning, the general education homebound, we'll cover those options for you all shortly. That way that you'll know kind of where you may fall and what you might qualify for and what the criteria is in some of those places, so that you may be able to take advantage of that option. So we will get to that information here shortly. I know that's the number one question that we're seeing in the chat right now. But first, I'd like to let our Director of Health Services, Ms. Valerie Maldonado, give us an update on what we're doing to safely bring all of our students back.
Thank you, Jesse, so much. And I really want to thank everybody for being here. I know you all want to know how we are going to keep your kiddos safe. And believe you me, we are going to do our very best to do that. So last week at our town hall, we went over our COVID safety plan, and know that that is online for you to access on our district website. And I'm going to just hit some highlights on what our plan is. Basically washing your hands, encouraging our students, staff, and everybody who comes into our buildings to either wash their hands with soap and water and practice that very frequently, or use the alcohol-based hand sanitizer, which is located at various places within our campuses. We're going to go over respiratory etiquette and cough etiquette, covering your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. We want our kids to know that that is a good way to contain one's own germs. So we will definitely be integrating that into their curriculum. As Dr. Burstiff had mentioned, there is a health directive in place, and we are currently following that. That could potentially change, but we definitely do encourage everybody to wear masks. It does help. prevent the spread, and it really does help keep our students in classes. If we have one positive student and the other student, and both actually are wearing masks, then they would not be identified as a close contact. So I just want to make that known. That could prevent your child from being identified as a close contact because the mask does decrease their risk. So again, more of that is explained in our COVID safety plan. So please take a look at that on our website. Stay home if your child has a cough, fever, or any other COVID-like symptoms, loss of taste or smell, sore throat. Call your doctor, get checked, follow their guidance, and notify your campus. Those who are fully vaccinated will not have to quarantine if exposed unless they're experiencing symptoms. So again, if a person is fully vaccinated, meaning they are 2 weeks past the second dose of the COVID vaccine, Moderna or Pfizer, or 2 weeks past the one dose of the J&J vaccine, and they have been exposed to a COVID positive person, as long as they are not experiencing any symptoms, they would not have to quarantine. We do have upcoming COVID vaccination opportunities in the district. Please be on the lookout for information. We'll get that out via various communication channels. So again, please be on the lookout for those COVID vaccination opportunities. We will attempt to maintain 3 feet of distance in our class whenever and wherever possible to the extent possible. Weekly asymptomatic COVID testing will continue this school year. We are solidifying dates on that. So again, please be on the lookout for more information. We will have a family testing day prior to the start of school, and information will be coming out very soon about that. And finally, visitors are welcome into our campuses for scheduled appointments, meetings, and conferences. And online opportunities will be offered for all visitors for communication. Again, together, we will stop the spread, and we definitely are committed to the health and safety of our students and our staff, but know that things can change. So check back often on our website to get updated on those changes. Jesse, that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time.
And so I know that this is a part of the information that a lot of folks were asking about too, as far as what are we doing as a district to keep our kids safe. And so you can see there's a number of things that we're doing here. Many of you have asked about social distancing. We will social distance whenever and wherever possible in at least 3 feet. And so I know many of you have asked that, and we're going to do our best to do that. And that is something that we are taking into consideration. So I am going to turn it back over to Ms. Velia Terrazas, our Executive Director of Elementary Curriculum, and she's going to talk to us about remote conferencing.
Thank you, Jesse. Good evening, Southwest ISD families, parents, and community. I am going to talk briefly about one of the learning options for our Southwest ISD students, and that is called remote conferencing learning option. When we ask the question of what is remote conferencing, it's going to be remote instruction that's going to be provided to all regular education students in grades K through 12 who meet the following 2 requirements. So in order for them to be able to switch over to remote conferencing, they have to be able to meet this criteria. The student is unable to attend school because of a temporary medical condition, and the total amount of remote conferencing instruction will not exceed more than 20 instructional days over the entirety of the school year. So for the entire school year, that remote conferencing can't go past 20 days. And I will dive a little bit deeper into that shortly. In addition to the criteria that I just mentioned, one of the following requirements also must be met. So the student's temporary medical condition has to be documented by a physician that's licensed to practice in the United States, and the documentation must include a statement from the physician that the student is to remain confined to their home or to a hospital. If you want to know what type of communicable conditions are listed under that, they have to have a positive test for one of those conditions, And that link will be provided and will also be posted on the district website to let you know under the 25 Texas Administration Code what that rule is and what communicable conditions or medical conditions qualify for that. The student has been identified as having been in close contact with COVID. So if one of those following criteria are also met, then the student could qualify for remote conferencing. So some of the questions that we anticipate is, if my student does go into remote conferencing, what would the attendance, will attendance be taken, and then what will that instruction look like? So the students that are participating in remote conferencing will be required to engage, and they will have to be virtually present with their assigned teacher daily through two-way real-time instruction during 2 through 4 hours throughout the day. The students participating in remote conferencing will receive instruction just like all other students in all of the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills for all the core subjects and the grade levels that they are enrolled in. So remote conferencing similarly applies to special education students as well. One of the other questions that more likely will come up is, who will be my child's teacher for remote conferencing? So teachers that will be designated as a remote conferencing teachers, which will likely mean that the teacher of record for your child during the in-person learning will not be the same teacher. All Southwest ISD students that qualify for remote conferencing will receive still the high quality instruction that all our face-to-face learners will be engaging in through highly qualified teachers who meet the certification requirements to teach the content area. So just as likely they will be with a certified teacher. The district is allowed to also utilize substitute teachers in the event that we need to, but they would also be providing the same type of high quality instruction for all students who qualify. So if your child is in a face-to-face learning modality and then they have to switch over to receive the remote conferencing instruction, how will your student receive their technology? Students who qualify to switch over to remote conferencing instruction can contact their school to make arrangements to pick up any necessary technology and or resources curbside. And Jesse, that is all the information that I have for now. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Terrazas. Thank you for sharing that with us. And that was the remote conferencing option. And now we're going to have Ms. Dawn Benavides join us, and she's going to go over the general homebound education services.
Good evening. Let me get in here and try to share my screen. Are you able, can you confirm if you can see my presentation?
You are good to go, Ms. Benavides.
Perfect. Okay. Again, my name is Dawn Benavides, and I work in the Student Support Services Department, and I help with General Education Homebound. One of our options under General Education Homebound is for students that suffer from an illness or injury that causes excessive absences. We are able to consider a homebound learning experience for them. What that requires is a note from a licensed physician that is licensed to practice in the United States. They must confirm that the child is going to be confined at home or hospital for a minimum of 4 concurrent or consecutive weeks. If this is the case, then the 504 campus coordinator should schedule an initial meeting to review this information. If the child is already in 504 services, we want to complete a meeting, gather the information, and ensure that we're able to consider these services. If your child is not already in Section 504, they may be eligible for 504 if they have a physical or mental disability which substantially limits a major life activity. And we would encourage you to get with their Campus 504 coordinator, their administrator, and go through that referral process to see if Section 504 is a program that would be able to support them. If that is the case and they require homebound, then that would be a committee decision. Through our homebound process, we have the physician documentation form that our physicians are required to submit, and we can help parents by sending this directly to the physician if we have a release of information. But again, the information needed would be the student's disability, the reason that they need to stay home, the fact that they would be at home or in hospital, and a start and end date. We do have some flexibility as far as general homebound services are concerned. Your traditional homebound services are provided in the student's home with a certified general education teacher who is assigned to provide instruction in all 4 core content areas and would be working typically 4 hours a week with that student. Parents would also provide an acknowledgement that would allow the teacher to provide those services in home. Now, under current circumstances, we wanted to also provide a remote option for that general ed homebound to occur, which means students could receive those homebound services in a remote setting from that same homebound teacher. Again, it would be the limited number of hours per week, but it would allow the students to meet their attendance, access their learning, and have the support that they need while they're at home. For students that do not have a documented disability, some students may still have an illness that requires them to remain in the home or hospital. Again, the requirements are the same as they are under 504. They must be confined at home or hospital for a minimum of 4 consecutive or cumulative weeks. Homebound is for medical reasons only, and the condition must be documented by a physician who is licensed to practice in the United States. Completion of the physician form is needed for that consideration, and it is a general ed homebound committee decision, and that committee should consist of the campus administrator, a general education teacher, and the parent. So I've provided you with the list of administrators, the 504 campus administrators, as well as their phone numbers. This can also be found on our district website under our departments and program 504 information. So the administrators are listed on our website as well. And that's the information that I have for you.
Thank you, Ms. Benavides. We appreciate that information. And so parents, I still see lots of questions about virtual learning. So Mr. Adrian Ramirez, who's going to be joining us next, has that information on the specifics of virtual instruction. So Mr. Ramirez, if you can share your screen, sir, so we can get you on. You should be good to go, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully you can see it.
Yes.
Is it coming up?
Yes, sir, you're good.
Okay. So the local virtual learning option is another option that is available to some students who meet certain eligibility criteria. This option is for students ages 5 through 12 who ended the previous school year in a virtual setting, who do not have the opportunity to receive the vaccine, who have a medical condition that prevents him or her from attending in-person school, who are not eligible to be serviced through another state-approved special program, and who are living in the same home as a family, or who are living in the same home as a family member with a documented underlying medical condition who is at higher risk of developing severe outcomes resulting from COVID-19. Pre-K students are not eligible for this local virtual learning option. There are some things that will be considered when a request for the local virtual learning option has been made. Schools will ensure that students had at least 90% attendance during the 2021 school year and continue with 90% during the time that they are in the local virtual option. Achieve at least 70% or better in the following subjects during the 2021 school year and continue with such during the time that they are in the virtual learning option. And these subjects include reading, language arts, math, social studies, and science. Schools will also ensure that students have demonstrated that they were actively engaged in learning on a daily basis and effectively manage their learning time and completing assignments and consistently following the online schedule for the previous school year, the 2020-2021 school year. And they will also ensure that students understand that if they are approved for the virtual instruction option, they will not be eligible to participate in extra and co-curricular activities, UIL, school-sponsored, and other events. A couple of other considerations: schools will ensure that students understand that this option requires a commitment for the fall semester, and that our local virtual learning option will follow the remote conferencing guidelines. There are some things that we are currently working on regarding the local virtual learning option that deal with the school day as far as what it will look like for students in this option. And one of those things is how and when attendance will be taken, how instruction will be provided. This may include both synchronous and asynchronous activities, and who will provide instruction to students. So those are some things regarding this particular local virtual learning option that we are currently working on. And we'll communicate that information as soon as we get that. And that is all the information I have for the local virtual learning option.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. We appreciate that information. And I know there's still going to be lots of questions on here, parents. I still see lots of questions on here about virtual learning. So I do recommend, if you have some questions, to reach out to your home campus. Please kind of work through that with the home campus if you have questions as to whether or not you're able to do this. And after hearing the information that Ms. Terrazas, Ms. Aragon, and Ms. Benavides and Mr. Ramirez covered with us tonight. And so I understand that there are still plenty of questions, and we by no means are going to have enough time to get to all of them, but we wanted to make sure that we at least got you the information and we're able to share that message to help you as you plan for this school year as well. So there's a couple of questions that came through in the chat, so I'm going to circle back to a couple of folks. So Ms. Valerie Maldonado, and so we're going to ask this question again: will students and staff be required to wear a mask?
As of right now, yes. Due to the health directive that's currently in place, students and staff will be required to wear a mask. Now, as Dr. Versa had said, that could potentially change next week, but we will continue to update the community.
Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. And so as of now, and I know several parents wrote in the chat as well too. And so, you know, what happens if something changes next week? We will adjust as those directives come down to us, and we will work with those bodies who are making those decisions, and that we will adjust our policy as we go through that. So just to understand that we know that things are changing as we go day by day. And so what is true right now may not necessarily be true next week, but we are definitely working with all of those agencies to make sure that we make things as safe as possible for all of our students when they return. Ms. Terrazas, what happens if students who are placed out and during that remote conferencing go beyond those 20 days?
So for instance, if you have a student who does happen to get exposed to COVID more than once, and for instance, if they have to be out for 5 days during the first exposure, or they happen to be out the 10 days for second exposure, anything that goes beyond the 20 days for the entire school year, there is a way that a waiver can be filed. And again, we would guide the parents and the students and the campuses to be able to file that waiver if for some reason the exposure or the remote conferencing does have to go beyond the 20 days. So the remote conferencing option is a very limited option. And so if they do happen to go beyond that, then we would look at the different options and filing a waiver.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Terrazas. A question for Ms. Benavides. What grades are eligible for general homebound education services?
So for general education homebound, 504 is available to any student pre-K through 12 if they meet that eligibility. And if they need general education homebound services, then it can be pre-K through 12 if that is what the committee determines that is appropriate for that child.
Thank you, Ms. Benavides. Appreciate that. Ms. Aragon, a question for you, ma'am. What would my child's schedule look like? So there was a lot of questions in here about what the schedule, what the basic day for some of these students are going to look like, elementary, middle, high. And so I understand that's a kind of a difficult question to answer for all levels, but what would a child's schedule look like?
Definitely. Thank you, Jesse. Let me go ahead and share my screen and go over the different options we have from elementary through high school. So good evening, Southwest ISD families. I'll be presenting the in-person instruction learning option. As you know, we have our first day of school of August 23rd. And so there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to ensure we have a successful 21-22 school year. So we had our new teachers start this week, and they've been preparing and taking part in intensive training. We also have our teachers, our returning teachers that will be here tomorrow and will be also participating in a week of professional development. In addition, they'll be preparing engaging and effective lessons to welcome our students back to school. Just a reminder for our families, we do have our elementary school starting from 8:10 to 3:40. And so the schedule for an elementary student will be based on the unique schedule of their campus. So we encourage our families to contact the elementary campuses to see what their rotations, what their specials, what their lunch schedule will look like. At the middle school level, students start from 7:30 to 3, and students have a 7-period day. So they have their English, their math, their science, their social studies classes, in addition to their elective classes. Students also have a daily intervention and enrichment time to support students throughout the year. At our high schools, we have Southwest High School and Southwest Legacy that also have a 7-period day. And so at both campuses, we also have a college and career prep class that focuses on college and career readiness. At CASTEM High School, we have an A Day, B Day, Flex Friday, which means students participate in 1st through 4th on Monday and Wednesday, and then have 5th through 8th periods on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then on Fridays, they have 1st through 8th periods. So right now at the high school level, parents and students have access to their schedule, what it looks like right now, through the parent portal and also the student portal. So we encourage our families, if you are having some if you have questions or you have some difficulty, to please contact your child's high school campus. Another priority for in-person instruction focuses on the social and emotional learning, which we call SEL. And so that definitely remains a priority for our district. And so we really want our schools and families to work together to support each child. So the 5 areas of social emotional learning are self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and also relationship skills. So together, as we focus on these, especially at school, we can make sure that they're taught, they're modeled, and they're practiced to make sure that they are successful in school and also in life. So in our district, we do have opportunities for social and emotional support, and also character education that supports character traits. So at the elementary level, we do have students which will have their guidance lessons that will be delivered by their campus counselor, and then also daily SEL announcements. At the middle school level, our students will also have the guidance lessons delivered by their counselor, and also teacher-led SEL character and lessons. In addition, we'll also have weekly campus announcements. At the high school level, at all 3 high schools, we'll have the guidance lessons that will be delivered by their counselors. At Southwest High School and Southwest Legacy, we do have our college and career prep class that is daily, and they'll be focusing on teacher-led SEL and also character education. And also they'll have their weekly SEL campus announcements. So not only are we focusing on the academic, but also the social emotional support as students are transitioning back to campus. And so Jesse, that's all I have for in-person learning.
And Ms. Aragon, my apologies for skipping you here. I was trying to multitask and answer questions over here. But it's really important for parents to understand that we do know that a lot of our students have not been in school for an extended period of time. And so we are prepared when they get back to provide some tiered support to all of our students in that social emotional area. And so we're aware that there's going to be some challenges when they come back, and that's going to build into the day. And we think that that's going to be a big part of providing this face-to-face instruction for our students, that they have this opportunity to receive some of those services to help them work through some of the challenges that the last year may have brought to them. So we're excited that we've been able to gather some resources together and prepare for our students and what it's going to look like when they come in this fall. And we know that that's an important component of our face-to-face. And so thank you, Ms. Aragon, for all of that information.
Thank you.
I do have one more question that's coming on the chat quite a bit, Mr. Ramirez. One of the questions that we've been asked by parents is, what medical documentation do we need to provide? We provided a couple different options, and we referred to medical documentation several times. So what does that need to look like so that they'd be able to apply for some of these options?
So I know that some of the options that information that some of our presenters gave or shared mentioned documentation, and that documentation that is needed for eligibility for some of those programs. I know they're pretty specific about what they need from a doctor, and a doctor who's licensed to practice in the United States. Regarding the local virtual learning option, if a parent notifies or lets campus administrators know that their child has a medical condition that prevents him or her from attending in-person school, we go by that information. Okay, if parents are telling us that a medical condition exists, that there is a medical condition, then we're going to basically go by the honor system and accept the information that parents share with us regarding that medical condition.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. I appreciate that information. So I'm certain we could stay here and answer a lot more questions, but I want to go ahead and wrap some of this up. And again, parents, I know that you put your questions in the question and answer section. Of course, we can't get to all of them. They're coming in by the tens, per minute here. And so we do, at the end of this presentation, we pull a transcript of all the questions. And what we'll do is we'll create a frequently asked questions document, an FAQ, and then we will post that online so that you can get some answers to that. And so set some answers to some of the questions that you all have been asking tonight. And so a lot of these questions, we want to make sure that we get you the right answer. And some of us are able to answer some of these, and some of these we want to make sure that we get you the right answer just in case anything changes over the next couple of days. So we will get that transcript pulled. We will pull those most popular questions that were asked tonight. And again, if you have a very specific question, please contact your home campus. I can't stress enough that you were to go to the home campus and be able to work with that principal, the administration on that campus. And I'm sure that we'd be able to get a lot of those issues that you're asking about solved. And if you don't have, or if you're not comfortable doing that, I will put my email out here tonight before we're done. It's jesgarcia@swisd.net. If you have a question, or if there's something you want to send me afterwards, you maybe just weren't comfortable putting it in the chat, please email me. My name is Jesse Garcia, but you can email me at jesgarcia@swisd. And so if there's a question on here that you didn't want to put in the chat, or you just weren't comfortable asking, please send us those questions, and then I will work with all of the folks that are on our team to make sure that we get you an answer to those questions, and hopefully you're more comfortable with the decisions that you're making for this fall. But before we wrap up tonight's session, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Verstoff one more time. And I think he's going to go ahead and close this session out for us tonight. So Dr. Verstoff, our superintendent of schools.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. And thank you for giving me some closing opportunity. I just want to really let our parents know, we know that we're not going to be able to answer every question. We know that whatever decision that we make in collaboration with our families, with our system, and working within the guardrails that our Texas Education Agency sets out and our state sets out, we absolutely know that all of our decisions will not be completely embraced. So the idea here is to come out to our families, have conversation, present information. Our local virtual program is already something outside of what the agency said we can do, but we know it's an opportunity and a way to provide our families, our students, our youth another option. At the end of the day, we completely embrace that the safety and well-being of all of our youth and all of our families and all of our staff are extremely important. And so we don't make any decision lightly. but we do try to provide options for our families. We do know that the vast majority of our students are going to return in person, and we're going to apply our safe protocols as we did last year, that we have a record that basically they worked when we do it right, and when we have to do contact tracing and we have to do mitigation protocols and place students out for a short period of time to make sure that things are safe and bring that student back as quickly as possible. So we do understand there's going to be various venues, there's going to be various decisions. Our families have various needs, and we're going to try to address them as much as possible. On August the 6th was the first time that we put out our kind of four-pronged plan. We asked our parents to look at this information, send us a parent notification of which plan that you are leaning toward, which plan that you want more information on. And our goal here, and what's going to happen next week, is we're taking that information and that information is going to promulgate down into a personal conversation between your campus leadership, your principal, or your assistant principals, your counselors, your teachers. They will make further contact because we need to have those conversations with our parents because you're going to have specific questions that are specific to your needs, that you're trying to make sure that your students are safe. And so understand that the parent notification that you sent from our website, where we're presenting our plans and asking you pick one of these plans that you think is most appropriate for you and your family at this time. And now someone at your home campus is going to make that connection with you, either through a phone call, email, but to further have a one-on-one conversation with our parents. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understand that wasn't an application. That was a notification telling us that we need to have further conversation, and then we can turn it into an application. So I know we have folks on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to this issue, and specifically face mask if you're in person, and what does that look like? I'm going to tell you, we just can't answer that today. We really need to kind of wait and let it kind of run through the judicial system and get a decision from the hearing on Monday, and then we're going to come back and share that with our families. I know there may be questions around the idea of, well, why is this program only offered up through this grade level or through this age? We know that vaccines are available for everyone 12 and up. Nurse Maldonado is doing a really great job of working with our external partners and making sure that we can hold vaccine opportunities. We're working on a partnership with Somerset ISD right now so that we can share their vaccination drives, and when we do them here, that they can come over and also share here. We also know that there are differing thoughts about the vaccines, and so we're not pushing it, but we definitely want to make sure it is available and it's an option for our families. We are also going to continue our partnership with Community Labs, which is free COVID testing once a week for all of our students and all of our staff, to make sure that they have access to those opportunities, and it's completely voluntary. It's not forced upon anyone, but it's definitely here for our families and to help us keep really safe environments, as safe as possible environments for our youth and for our families, and to make sure we're doing the best we can to make sure we're not part of the spread of COVID. As we go into the end of this week tomorrow, and we come back Monday, I can promise you we're going to receive a lot more information from our agency, from our local leaders, from our state leaders, and we'll definitely put that into our presentation, our town hall presentation next week. I do not want to leave this meeting without saying a heartfelt thank you to all of our families. We're all at different places, but when we come together and we have conversation about what we're doing or trying to do or trying to offer our families, or explain what our safe in-person protocols look like, and what's our mitigation process when we do have maybe a close contact or a COVID positive, how does that work? So we're going to continue these meetings, and we're going to talk about it. I'm extremely proud of the work that our Southwest Cares and so many folks in our district, including all these folks who are on this Zoom call, have been putting together and tiering out a system to make sure that we have social emotional learning opportunities for all of our students in a tier 1 level, a tier 2 for those students who may need more support and around them and more opportunities in that environment. And we have a tier 3 level. And so there's been a lot of planning, a lot of conversation around making sure that we take care of those social emotional issues that our students, because of this huge life disruption, when they come back into systems, we definitely want to put those supporting mechanisms around them and make sure our students are okay. So we know we also belong to different organizations in and around San Antonio. One of the main ones is our UP partnership, which is our P16 initiative, where we work with many nonprofits, many ISDs, many leaders, having conversation about the economics and creating opportunities for our students to be prepared in the workforce, industry-based certs, community colleges, higher education, military, whatever their choice is. So we work with them. I know the last meeting I was able to attend was 2 weeks ago. There was a lot of conversation kind of about the 3 big rocks that collectively that the 5.4 million students in Texas are going to need access. Number one, we're going to have to help our students acclimate back into in-person learning environments at some point. We hope this year all of our students are able to come back based on the metrics improving and the early warning indicators telling us that it's safer for all of our students to return. We know that our students need an opportunity for healing so that we can address those issues of maybe not being around large groups for a long period of time, and what does that look like, and what conversations do we have from that. And then we have to, the third big rock is providing all the programs, the high impact tutoring, which is House Bill 4545. Some of you may have heard of that. But every one of our students, based on their performance on either their state assessment last year, or if they didn't take one, about how we are required and we fully embrace to make sure our students have high impact tutoring opportunities within their district. Some of our students will get up to 30 hours, and it can go all the way up to 120 hours that we provide our students because of this break. Those opportunities to fill those gaps of maybe some learning that didn't happen in the age appropriate year they were in last year. Our curriculum is a spiraling curriculum. It's going back to really help our students with their foundations that they should have received last year, and then build on the current year that they're going to be in this year. I'm extremely proud when we look at our results from the STAR into course last year, and we've been able to do what's called a comparison study of Southwest ISD compared to the other 11 school districts that comprise the public ISDs in Bexar County. We are in top tier math, reading, science, social studies. We are competing at every grade level in comparison data with every content. And I think we can be proud that of our teachers, of our staff, that they were able to turn on a dime, just like every other ISD, And when we look at the student outcomes compared to other student outcomes, our students compete, and they competed really well in some cases, and we're not perfect. There's opportunities for growth within that data that we're going to continue to look at and mitigate as we go into the next year. And so I'd like to leave. I know we're approaching the 1 hour mark. I just want to leave with a huge thank you to our staff, to our families, to our school board, who make it very clear that they want to see options for our families, that they expect options for our families, and that we address those options and fully explain to everyone what's available. I also want everyone to understand that there will be certain requests we just cannot do because we have specific guidance from our agency. We'll address those on a case-by-case basis in those conversations with our families. And so I'd like to bring, I know we've answered the questions, just know that from what I've seen, we have over about 80 questions in our bank, that we will take those questions and we will definitely, as a group, answer the questions to the best of our ability, and we will add them onto our website so everyone has access. I would encourage our families to continue to go to our website, to visit it, to call your campus principal. But if you fill out a parent notification indicating that you have an interest in one of the 4 venues, if you know you're coming in person, we do not need a parent notification for that. But if you're indicating remote conferencing or our local virtual program or our general education homebound program, we ask to get that notification so that we can have that one-on-one conversation. So thank you, Southwest ISD families. Thank you for your greatest gift, your children. We will work together, making the best decisions we can. A lot of times I tell our staff, sometimes the only decisions that we have are bad ones. So let's pick the best bad decision that we can pick and work with our families and make sure our students continue that upward path. Because at the end of this, what we want for our youth is to live a great quality of life beyond their days in school systems. And that looks different for different families, and we understand that. So we're here to support that. We're here to be a partner. I wish you all a great evening. We will again do another town hall next week, and we'll be sending out more information. And we're getting out our welcome back letter at some point next week when we know a little bit more about some of the expectations on school districts. So thank you for everything you do, Southwest, and that concludes our meeting this evening. I want to thank our panel, all of our staff, and all of our families.
So ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back next Thursday, same time, 6 p.m. And we will get that link out to the community as soon as we have it set it up. And as the information comes in over the next week, we will make those adjustments and share all of that information next week to keep you informed. I did share my email address with many of you, and I see some emails coming in already. Please send me those emails and I will route those to the correct people so that we get you some answers tonight. And once again, we want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you to our panelists, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
And Jesse, a big thank you to Patricia Belmar for helping us this evening above and beyond. Thank you very much.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Ms. Belmar. Thank you to everyone. You all have a good night. We'll see you next week, Southwest.